Hi, and welcome to this lesson on the guitar fretboard. In the next 15 minutes or so, we're going to be discussing how to better memorize the fretboard, notes, where they are on the strings and the frets, and also maybe how the guitar fretboard functions musically rather than just by shapes. A lot of guitar players learn the guitar by just learning shapes and, for chords, that is. We never really learn how any of these things function musically. The guitar fretboard, a lot of the time we learn things vertically. We learn how to read in position, like first position. We learn the notes, most people do, in just first position. The adventuresome minority, I guess, learns things in second and fifth position and so on. Up the neck, but usually in positions in a vertical way. And I've always kind of been jealous, I guess, of how much better pianists understand the keyboard than most guitarists understand the fretboard. And it's really quite simple. I mean, the piano is laid out in a very easy to understand visual way. It's horizontally laid out, and every octave looks like the next octave. So, I mean, once you've learned the keys or the notes in one octave, you have them memorized everywhere. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's the same system that's laid out. And the guitar isn't laid out that way, so to speak. Now, the piano is set up in a system of whole steps and half steps, as is the guitar also. Most Western music instruments deal with the half step as the smallest increment of or interval. On a guitar, a half step is one fret. So one fret higher than the first fret would be, the second fret, of course, but that would be a half step. The first fret to the third fret is a whole step. Okay. Now on the piano, this is true also. If a white key does not have a black key in between it, and is in the case of B and C and E and F on the piano, that's a half step. If there's a black key in between any of the white keys, then from white key to white key is a whole step. So if you just play chromatically up the piano, white, black, white, black, white, black, white, white, black, white, black, white, white, black, it is half steps. On the guitar, in a sense, it's almost even easier to see because we don't have a black key, we just have frets, and each one of them is a half step. But as I was mentioning a little bit earlier, the vertical nature of the guitar, or the way that we learn to play it, makes it very difficult to see whole steps and half steps. So horizontally, it's very easy to see 1 to 3 being a whole step and 3 to 5. But, in this case, like this note, 3rd fret 6th string to 5th string open, it's very hard to see that as a whole step. So one of the things that I like to do is approach the guitar with actually all of my students at some point as a horizontal instrument rather than a vertical instrument that we typically start out learning things, for reading, like I've mentioned before. So we're going to get started learning the fretboard and some tricks that I've come up with and some of my teachers in the past have shown me that will help us to make better use of the fretboard. Now, when you think about it, we all paid full price, unless many of us got discounts, I guess, on our guitars, but still we paid for all the strings and all the frets. So it's a shame that we don't utilize the whole neck more when we play or when we write music or anything to do with the guitar. Now I have some teaching helps here also, or one in particular, which is this magnetic board, and I have some color-coded magnets. This is a really cool teaching tool, I think, and it makes things a little bit easier to visualize sometimes, being able to see it big here on the board. So this represents the fretboard. The first string is up on the top, second string, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. So it's just like, as far as the horizontal lines go, it looks like you're looking at a piece of tab paper. And then, of course, the vertical lines would represent the frets. Fret 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so forth. We're going to start off with the first string, and the first string open is E. Now, as I mentioned, on a piano, there are 2 sets of notes that don't have a black key in between, which means there are 2 natural notes that are whole steps apart, or 2 sets of, I should say 2 sets of notes that are natural, that are only a half step apart. Those are B and C and E and F. Now on the piano, F is just 1 white key higher than E, without a black key. So on the guitar, it's the same. It would be a half step. E is open, F is in the first fret. Okay, now remember, B and C is the only other time that's going to happen. So to find all of the notes, I have to just say, okay, here's E and F. Now G is going to be 2 frets higher than F. There it is in the 3rd fret. A is 2 frets higher, 5th fret. B is 2 frets higher, 7th fret. C is only a half step away from B. That's the other half step for the natural note. So C is going to be in the 8th fret. D, right here in the 10th fret. And then E, 2 frets higher than D, is going to be there on the 12th. So let's review that again. E and F, 1 fret apart. G, A, B, C, D, and E. So it follows basically the alphabet, although we're not, or the musical alphabet, we're not starting on A, but we are E, F, G. When we get to G, then we start over again. A, B, C, D, E. Half steps between E and F and B and C, okay? So now, one of the cool things about the guitar is if you've learned the first string, all the natural notes, then we just have to learn every note, we just have to understand how sharps and flats function. A sharp moves a note 1 fret higher, of course, right? That's towards the body, higher in pitch. So that would be F sharp. F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, B sharp, commonly known as C, right? But yes, you could sharp a B and you could sharp an E and call it E sharp, and it would actually be an F. There's a term for that. It's called enharmonic notes, okay? Notes that have the same pitch but a different name. F sharp, or I'm sorry, E sharp and F. So C, C sharp in the 9th fret, D, D sharp in the 11th, and then E on the 12th. We start all over again. Now, a lot of guitar players would realize that, wow, you know, the 6th string and the 1st string have the exact same open name, E and E. They're 2 octaves apart. What that means, though, is that with that the notes, names will be in the same fret on both strings. So E, F, G, A, B, C, D, and E. Now, most people already know the 6th string, frankly. The misunderstood part of the guitar is not the 1st or the 6th string, because a lot of us have learned bar chords, and we've learned that the root note has to be on the 6th string, correct? Or the 5th string. So there's 2 notes or 2 strings on the guitar that everybody usually understands pretty well all the way up the neck. That's E, or the E, which is the 6th string open, and the A string, which is 5th string. So E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E.